Auto insurance can all seem the same until it comes time to use it. So don't get stuck paying more for less coverage. Switch to USAA Auto Insurance and you could start saving money in no time. Get a quote today. Restrictions apply.
USAA. Hilton brings you new ways to stay. With experiences that let you capture the glory days. Introducing the Graduate Hotels. Each inspired by local college towns, these stays are always original and never boring. Get in touch with traditions all across the country and enjoy a stay that's a class above the rest. Book at Graduate Hotels with Hilton Honors Points at Hilton.com. It's a win-win. Hilton, for the stay.
Halliday presents, in the red corner, the undisputed, undefeated Weed Whacker Guy. Champion of hurling grass and pollen everywhere. And in the blue corner, the challenger, extra strength Halliday. Eye drops that work all day to prevent the release of histamines that cause itchy allergy eyes. And the winner by knockout is Halliday. Halliday, bring it on.
From the Fifth Quarter Studio in Madison, Wisconsin, you're listening to the Coaching Youth Hoops Podcast.
They're playing basketball. Basketball.
Here's our hosts, Steve Collins. And Bill Flitter.
All right, welcome. Drum roll. Episode 25.
Look at that, 25. Magic 25.
25.
What's the 25th? Is it silver? 25th for your wedding anniversary?
I have no idea. I have it next summer. But yeah, at 25. I like numbers that end in 5 and 0. I don't know why, but it's the whole math thing for me. All right. So, but before we jump in, we want to do a couple shout outs.
Yeah.
So we want to talk about our Facebook group first.
Talk about Facebook group. Yeah. Go Coach Youth Hoops Facebook group. Join the discussion there. It's going to be your lifeline for the season when you get stuck on those tough questions of how to coach your team or those one-off things that come up, and go there, post a question. And don't worry. I mean, just post it, ask anything. That amazing group of coaches on there, willing and ready to jump in and help.
Yes, 100%. Yes, I agree. And then talk about your practice plans. I'm going to talk about my membership in a second.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Basketballpracticeplans.com, coaches. Don't worry about doing a single practice plan. Again, I got it all done for you, all planned out, a full season of practice plans. All you got to do is download. You can print them out. You can see them on your phone. 24 practices, including drills. Stop searching on YouTube and Google for all the drills, random drills. This is a progressive basketball program that takes you through practice number 1 all the way through the end of the season, builds upon one another, offense, defense, special plays, out of bounds plays, sidelines out of bounds plays, etc. Everything there ready for you to coach your team.
So it's perfect. So when you're working all day and you're looking for something, that's where you're going to go. Well, also, you can go over Coach was feeling left. I was feeling left out. So make sure you go over to coachingyouthhoops.com. There'll be a sign up for my membership site. I'm going to start a waiting list. I'm not sure it's going to be done by then, but I'll take your email and let you know when that opens. And that will add to Coach's stuff and get into a little bit more of the nuts and bolts of some of the specific things. So go over and check that out. I'm doing this because it's going to cause me to have something ready by October 4th. So.
Are you serious?
Yes, I'm gonna have something. I don't know what. Something.
Something. Okay.
It will be something. If nothing else, it'll be a landing page so you can give me your information.
You heard it here, folks.
You heard it. Yeah. You know what I'm doing to myself? What I did to Bill with practice plans.
You know what? And I actually was only 3 days late. I tried to get it out on time. I was about 3 days late though. So
Well, that's not bad.
That's not bad. No.
I challenged him to get this done by what date?
End of August.
End of August.
Yeah. And I got it done over over the first weekend of September. So first days. Yeah. Anyway. All right.
Great.
What are we talking about today, Coach?
What are we talking about? This is your topic, isn't this your topic?
We're talking about constraints as a basketball coach and things to consider as you're developing your practice plan, as you're thinking through your season, your upcoming season, especially here in the States. We have falls coming up, so teams are getting picked for the winter leagues. So there's a number. I think I identified 5 constraints. We're going to tackle maybe some of these a little bit today, and over the next few weeks, dive into them to help you structure and get focused. So let's talk about constraints. So what we mean by constraints is, okay, so number one is what's the length of your practice? Okay, so is it an hour? Is it an hour and a half? Okay, that's one. And then 2, actually, I just realized I forgot one of the most important ones is, so there's 6 things. How many times do you practice in a week? Right. So not only length of each practice, but do you go 1 day a week or 2 days a week? And this kind of leads back into what we were talking about last time, which is identifying your strengths and weaknesses. So once those are identified, now you got to put these constraints over the top of that, of saying, okay, I know what my strengths and weaknesses are, but I only have 1 day of practice. Okay, so that really limits.
Right. If you can't dribble, you're not going to teach them to dribble in a day. Yeah, I get that. Yes.
Right. Okay. Let's go through them first, and then we can tackle them as needed. So length. So time wise, how long do you practice? How many days a week do you practice? How many hoops do you have to practice? 1, 2, or many more? How many players do you have? But most importantly, how many players are showed up for that
on a consistent basis?
You won't know that obviously until you get into, but you're going to have to be flexible and make some adjustments. And the level, the player talent level is another constraint, which again we touched upon last week. What else am I missing?
How many assistant coaches you have?
Yeah, how much help you have? Yeah,
how much help you have? Yeah. How many balls? I mean,
how many balls you have too?
I mean,
right?
literally, those are constraints. Like,
yeah.
I mean, do you have to go on Amazon? I mean, there's constraints like,
Well, and I think the bigger constraint, or another constraint too, that I've heard getting this feedback from coaches on basketballpracticeplans.com is they can't set screens, right? They can't do any screening
right.
That's a constraint of their league.
Right. No zone defense would be a
is another one.
In the States would happen a lot, probably at the younger
that's
age.
what we have. Yeah. Zone defense.
So those are the constraints you have to work within.
That's right. No double teams. So
no pressing. No pressing is another
no pressing one. And no trapping. So those are, again, some leagues have their own. And I think it's not a bad thing at the youth level, youth meaning, maybe grade 5 and younger, to have some of these constraints. They're just learning the game, learning how to dribble. But anyway, so those are some of the things that we've come up with, constraints that you have to overcome and think through as you're planning out your season practices. And like we said, you won't know the number of players you have at a particular practice until that day, but you'll have to make some adjustments to your plan. You should know going into, though, how many, if you're scheduled at a particular gym, how many hoops you're going to have, and then you can work your practices around your practice plan around that. But what did you run in? Maybe dive in, take a topic there, Coach, and
Llévate más de lo que esperas todos los días con el nuevo McValue en McDonald's. Ahora puedes comprar uno y sumarle otro por $1. Así que cuando tu equipo favorito enfrenta a sus rivales, enfrenta a tus antojos con $5 Meal Deals. Y si estás corriendo para alcanzar el desayuno, corre al app para llevarte ofertas antes del cutoff. Tú decides, y con McValue, tu decisión siempre rinde más. Precios y participación pueden variar. BOGO $1 válido para un producto de igual o menor valor. Debe estar registrado en Rewards para ofertas en el app.
maybe we run through a couple examples.
Yeah, I mean, I think baskets was a big one. Remember.
Baskets always a big one. Yeah,
it's always a big one, and it's like, how do I keep them active with limited baskets? And often we don't have support, like it's me or whoever. That's why I came up with like the Tennessee shooting drill, where it's like you're always going. There's things that I had to pivot. It's like that. Things I had to do differently for that than I did for my varsity high school team is because I had those constraints. Or I know this is I don't know, this is one that didn't come up. We went in some floors that were almost not safe, that, were lunchrooms 6 hours earlier.
Oh, right. Yeah. It's definitely.
They weren't, and again, there are places that even in Dane County where I'm located, there's middle school gyms that are better than my high school gym. Don't get me wrong. But there's also elementary gyms that I wouldn't want my worst enemy playing on. And that's where my fourth grade team was practicing. So it's like they couldn't even run up and down without sliding, kind of thing. So it's like all of a sudden I had to change my practice plan. I don't want anybody to get hurt. So I think some of those physical things were really big constraints that I noticed that I had to adjust. Okay, hey, we're going to work on dribbling today because we can do that stationary. We're going to work on some free throws. We're going to work on maybe shooting layups. Like there were some things, and these were, again, you tend to get better gyms as you move up the food chain. So it's some of those younger. I had to pivot what I was doing in my practices.
Well, I've run into a situation where gym was double booked. It's pouring rain outside.
Oh yeah.
I have 10 of my players there.
You're telling us it's pouring rain. You're telling us pouring rain because you go outside where you were.
Correct.
Like I can't go outside.
You can't go outside. So
like 12 feet of snow.
We're under a canopy outside the gym. I'm like, okay, I got a couple options. So I call the parents and say, gym was double booked, right? Do I talk to the coach that's in there now saying, can we use one half of the gym? Because it was double booked. We practice outside. We did dribbling drills. Like, okay, let's make the best of it, right? Kids had fun. They were outside. They were getting a little wet. That's okay. We made the best of it. I had to improvise and come up with something at that point, but that was okay. Right. Yeah. I'd rather have the kids.
You could also, that could be a team bonding time too.
Exactly.
Like, let's play 20 questions. Let's do, there's all sorts of fun things you can do. And it's easier for educators that kind of get thrown into that. It's like, whatever. I literally, from someone that's taught 35 years, if you don't learn to monitor and adjust, you're going to be in trouble. Yeah. Like I'm going to walk in Tuesday thinking I know what's going to happen. And it probably is going to happen. But then all of a sudden, like last year, there was something, and we ended up at the mall for 6 hours. Like it's like I wasn't expecting that when I walked in because there was a threat, there was an eval, it was like all that stuff. There was a leak again. It's like things happen. It's like my smart board doesn't work, or the Wi-Fi goes out, or it's like so it's similar. You have to have that mentality as a coach. Like
you really do. Best laid plans of mice and men, right?
Right. It's true. It's true.
I don't know what the rest of that statement is. I'm blanking on it right now. Yeah, Google it. But yeah, coaches, just you got to overcome those constraints and work within. Again, remember why you're there. You're there for the kids. Just make it fun. They probably don't think it's a big deal. But these are constraints you do have to consider as you're thinking through your practice for the year. What we do is we throw coaches can jump in, schedule their gym times, kind of a free for all. We do it in batches. In our case, we know what gym you're going to be at for the next, 3 or 4 weeks. Look at your practice plan, adjust it accordingly to the number of hoops you have, and modify your games that you're doing. Work both offense and defense at the same time. So even if you're just on one hoop, right? Or like you said, maybe you have limited balls. Okay, well, you know what? Then you got to do partner dribbling, right? What does that look like? Player talent, obviously, we touched upon that last week a little bit, looking at your strengths and weaknesses and identifying things that you're going to be good at, right? You got to work around those strengths and weaknesses of your team as well. how much help do you have? Do you have an assistant coach? Can you split the team in half? They're doing one thing while you're doing another, or maybe you don't have any help and you got to try to manage both.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's looking at your, like, think about last week, we were talking about, figuring out your strengths and weaknesses. Now, all right, so let's work on those weaknesses on a limited amount of space, baskets, those kind of things. I think another constraint we need to talk about is limited attention span.
Oh, good. Yes, that is absolutely. I was just actually writing an email about that this morning to a coach. And, the one thing that I follow this kind of, and I didn't realize it until I heard someone say it in a podcast out loud. We're all always learning. This is the philosophy of the USA Soccer. Their practice, they do play, drill, play, something like that. So play meaning burn that energy off real quick through some sort of play activity. Could be a game. We do a lot of Miss Pac-Man, Stuck in the Mud, those types of games to get them moving, get some energy, some dynamic warm up. We then drill, and those drills are pretty active drills, offensive, defense, small sided games, and then back to some sort of scrimmage at the end, right? So the kids are constantly moving, but they're short. Every 5 minutes, we're doing something different.
Right.
And I think that's important.
I refer to it as a machine gun practice.
Yeah.
Like, because it's just faster. It's like, those restraints are hard at any of those ages. Hard for our high school players.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, they get bored. They tell me.
I know.
I see it in their faces more so.
Yes, it's reading their faces. All right, what else, Coach? Anything else?
No, coaches, good luck. As a lot of you here in the States, at least, are kicking off your season. Reach out to us on the Facebook group if you have any questions. We're pretty accessible online, so you can go to teachhoops.com and contact Steve, or you can go to Basketball Practice Plans, contact me directly if you have any questions you need further explanation. I'm always here to help.
And Bill and I are a lot freer until the middle of November. So right now,
after November, we might 48 hour. Might take 48 hours for us to get back to you.
Right, because we'll both be pulling our hair out with our own teams at that point.
That's right.
All right. Till next week, Coach.
Till next week, Coach.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.